Joining us now, senior editor and elections analyst for the Cook Political Report, Dave Wasserman. First, I ask you humbly to tell me if I got those questions right.
You did. Good to be with you.
So what will you be watching for and where?
So I'm going to be watching the margins in Virginia and New Jersey, and they're different states because Democrats are defending the governor's office in New Jersey after 8 years. Voters are frustrated with high electricity rates. So Mikey Sherrill's got a tougher task than Abigail Spanberger, but I wouldn't be surprised in Virginia if the margin is somewhere in the mid-teens. And I'll also be watching what happens down ballot. Is there ticket splitting in the AG race? In the House of Delegates, do Democrats expand their margins from 51 to 49 to maybe 55 or even close to 60 seats? If it's closer to 60, that would be a sign to me that Democrats are on track to win control of the House in 2026, even despite the redistricting. And of course, Proposition 50 in California is a necessary prerequisite to give Democrats any chance of countering what Republicans are doing in other states to be able to win 218 seats next year.
The race here in New York City has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of national attention, even though it is just a race for mayor of New York City. Lots of folks talking about the progressive nature of it, the socialism, social democrat nature of it. How far do you read into what's going to happen here in New York City?
I think there's going to be a split screen tonight between two women becoming governor of major states who are pragmatic and have national security backgrounds, and a Democratic socialist who's going to be elected mayor. Republicans are going to try and elevate Zohran Mamdani as the face of the Democratic Party, a boogeyman to run against in 2026, much as they sought to run against the Squad after AOC was elected in 2018. Now, I believe the race in New York has tightened as Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, has collapsed, but Trump's late endorsement of Andrew Cuomo could push Mamdani back above 50%. It's still not a great showing for a Democrat running in New York City, and I think it speaks to how flawed his opponents were and how he was able to take advantage of that situation.
I want to read something from The Atlantic from David Graham about how no politics are local any longer. He says at one time a Democrat could win a House seat in North Dakota, and California might send a Republican to the Senate. Don't expect to see either of those feats repeated soon, as the political scientist Lee Drutman writes. How a given district voted for president now explains 98% of House outcomes. In the Senate, it's 91%. In 2000, roughly half of the Senate races were competitive enough that candidate quality could flip them. By 2024, only 12% were. I mean, is that permanent, Dave, in your eye? I mean, are we going to be able to get out of that sort of scenario where everything is nationally partisan?
We've seen split ticket voting plunge. There's no doubt about it. And the logical end point of this redistricting, gerrymandering arms race would seem to be the eradication of blue state Republicans and red state Democrats. And yet, we're also seeing shifts in public opinion and shifts in enthusiasm. The NBC poll found this past week that 74% of Democrats have high midterm election interest versus 67% of Republicans. That could mean that some districts that Trump carried by 5 or even 10 points could come into play for Democrats. Democrats have a few strong incumbents running in places like Toledo, Ohio, and South Texas who could hold on to seats that Trump carried. That's essential for them to have any chance of flipping the House majority next year.
What about Donald Trump? What's this going to tell us about his appeal?
I think we're going to find out that Donald Trump doesn't carry a lot of political weight in New York City in terms of the overall electorate there. However, he's facing a downturn in his party's fortune right now, primarily because the races and the midterms are shaping up to be a referendum on him. And Republicans need someone to run against. It is actually perhaps helpful for Democrats. They don't have a clear leader or one clear message right now. They're kind of rudderless. It contributes to the focus being on the White House and the president's actions. And to the extent that the White House is able to elevate Mamdani by picking a fight with him if he's elected mayor, as is likely the case, then that they presume will help elevate Republican motivation to vote next year.
Did Democrats, though, get the message that running on threats to democracy don't work? They might get you the voters that were already going to vote for Democrats, that were already worried about it, but they're not going to get the independent voters. Is that still the case? And are you seeing less of that messaging? And if you are, what's the message that's predominant?
There's no question that the future of democracy animates and motivates the Democratic base, and that intensity is very high right now. But for Democrats to win over independent voters, it is all about cost of living, and particularly rising healthcare costs and premium spikes given the expiration of enhanced subsidies and the changes to Medicaid provisions under the One Big Beautiful Bill. That's going to be the Democratic message to independent voters. And it's part of the reason why Trump's approval rating among independents is in the mid-30s, according to our tracker. And he promised in 2024 to rein in prices. Those voters haven't seen that happen. That's why we've seen some of the biggest drops in his support among the most pocketbook sensitive voters, including Hispanic voters. And we'll be watching, particularly in North Jersey, whether many of the communities that had big surges towards Trump last year revert back to their Democratic roots.
Well, that's interesting, because when you look at the candidacy of Zohran Mamdani, all he talks about is cost of living. That's the entirety, basically the entirety of his race. Is it a good idea, or is it still going to be beneficial for the Republicans to try to nationalize him, to try to make him a bogeyman nationally, if his whole message is about cost of living, is about affordability?
His message has helped him win over many voters who also voted for Donald Trump in 2024. That may seem like a paradox to most people. They may strike people as at the opposite ends of the spectrum. But we saw in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district, she ran on the margins 8 points ahead of the Harris-Trump result in a district spanning the Bronx and Queens. Those voters voted for Trump in many cases because of their concerns about affordability under the Biden years. And they also voted for a Democratic socialist for Congress. Many of them will vote for Mamdani for mayor. And so there is a populist strain that links both of these movements that is going to be key for 2028 as Democrats evaluate their choices between the more progressive wing and more pragmatic candidates in the Spanberger-Sherrill mold.
All right, Dave Wasserman, thank you very much for helping us see the big picture. Appreciate it.